And we saw that last night. And I love people that love this city. If you love the city, I will try to be your friend. And there are few that love the city more than my friend. And we were saying this earlier, we think longest tenured Sacramento Bee writer, the pride of San Jose State, Marcos Breton. Am I right there?
I hope that my alma mater takes pride in me, but I am the longest tenured writer at the Sacramento Bee at this point. I don't know when that happened, but it is a fact.
Man, I'm not calling you old. I'm just saying, you know.
Well, my children do, but no. If someone had told me in 1989, when I arrived in Sacramento, that I would be here 33 years later, I would have laughed. But I fell in love with the city, and my wife and I decided this is the place we wanted to raise our children. And I was born in San Jose, but I'm a Sacramentan.
You know, putting you on the spot, don't worry about it. You don't need to be correct. But we've been trying all day to kind of rank this in the history of Sacramento sports wins. And there's no bones about it. We've said this. You know, this is Kingstown. We get it. But somewhere we've landed in the top three, Marcos, with our top four is something like the Monarchs winning the championship, although we all acknowledge that if a poll was put out, it would be the Bibby shot against the Lakers.
Yep.
This might be number three, maybe. And then we also put Uriah Faber over Jens Pulver at the old Arco Arena. That first one, people forget that was an absolute insane moment. Am I missing anything big? Would you say we're getting close to accurate there?
Yeah, I mean those are some of the big ones. You know, you could add 2019 when the River Cats won the AAA championship, and they won a couple of those in. You know, the 08, 07, certainly the Bibby shot, the Monarchs. Those were big moments. But this one's up there. I would argue even higher than the 2014 USL championship because this was the third straight MLS team they've beaten to advance to play another MLS team to win this trophy. And listen, based on all the things that have happened to the Republic, to our city in the last couple of years, all the luck we've had the last couple of years has been bad. The fact that this team has gone on this run and won this and gotten to this far, I think it puts it right up there.
Marcos Breton of the Sacramento Bee with us. Yeah, and you know, and a little birdie told me last night that not one but two prospective investor groups were attending the game, and that doesn't mean anything. They were there; they might have just been having fun, but definitely have had at least introductory talks. The MLS dream is not dead, but games like last night, matches like last night, Marcos, I think, you know, MLS needs Sacramento almost as much as Sacramento needs MLS. It is just clear that this town could absolutely more than support an MLS team.
And that's always been the case. You know, from the first. Now I was thinking of the first game in April of 2014 over at Hughes Stadium, which is, you know, sightlines in terms of sightlines, terrible venue.
Yeah.
You know, at that time there was a track around the field, and you kind of needed a periscope to watch the game. But yet, about 20,000 people showed up that night on a freezing cold night in Sacramento. I had my then 10-year-old kids with me, and I missed the first goal in Republic history because I was standing in line to get hot chocolate for little kids. But people showed up, but then the real proof was the next game. You know, 18 to 20 showed up, and then the team went on a run and they won the championship. And listen, every time that MLS has come to town to kick the tires, people turned out. We had the big rally in Midtown, and everybody turned out. And so listen, MLS could really use that infusion of passion. They've had a rough time of their own, and they have kind of struggled to force their way into the overall sports marketplace in the U.S. And in Sacramento, they would have a franchise that turned out for every game. And I wasn't surprised at all by the turnout last night or by how passionate they were, because that's what we do in Sacramento.
Marcos Breton of the Sacramento Bee with us. The amount of sporting moments I've missed as well because of my children. As the doc told me once, what is it? 18 minutes of fun for 18 years of pain. But here we are. Here we are. Marcos, you broke the story, and good for you, that the Sacramento Kings are in advanced talks. It sounds like maybe not necessarily an I's dotted, T's crossed type of thing, but in that realm, into buying the Sacramento River Cats. So that's quite interesting, and maybe a little consolidation of local sports teams there. Yeah,
it makes sense. I think for both teams, for the Kings, I think what the River Cats offer is families. That's the big selling point for the River Cats is people take their families to the games, and so the Kings would have access to that fan base. They would be able to create synergy in marketing and advertising, and I think you'd see Kings tickets and River Cats tickets kind of cross-pollinating and trying to achieve a larger ticket base for both teams. And I think that you would see, the Kings do what they do best right now until the basketball operations kind of get where we want them to be, is the Kings create a really dynamic fan experience, and they're really good in the community. And they invest in the community, and that's what AAA baseball is all about, is community. The player personnel aspect of AAA baseball is handled by the parent club. So the San Francisco Giants are the ones who say which players are going to be in Sacramento. So it's the owners of the AAA team that take care of everything else, which is to make the place family friendly and attract people. And look, let's face it, 22 years in, I think the River Cats could use a reset. God bless him, Art Savage, who brought the River Cats to town, passed, more than a decade ago, and his son Jeff stepped in admirably and has run it since then. But my guess is that it's never really been Jeff's dream to do that, and attendance has not been great, since COVID. So if it works out, and it's not a done deal yet, but if it works out, it could be really good for both teams.
Marcos Breton with us. Well, and then, as we wrap up here, Marcos, the elephant in the room here with this story, I think you've been asked it. I know that. I've been asked it, and I don't really have a good answer, at least one that I want to say publicly, so I'll put it on you. What doesn't it beg the question, especially when you heard the rumors that Vivek had thrown his hat in to purchase Chelsea, which ended up going for whatever, $3-4 billion, talking about the soccer team. Why do we not have more conversations about the Kings, of which, by the way, Kevin Nagle is a minority owner. He's part of that ownership group. Why are the Kings not stepping in on the MLS front?
That's I've never gotten a good answer to that question. Never. But my feeling is that's a natural for Vivek and his group to look at and be involved in. I don't know if there's hard feelings there. Rich people have a way of getting upset with each other. And I don't have any proof that that's the case. I've always wondered that. But it would seem a natural, and if perhaps there are still groups that are looking at the Republic, and it's admirable that Kevin Nagle and that Mayor Steinberg, who was there last night, have not given up on this thing. But I would think that it would be a natural for the Kings group to be involved with the Republic in some way. And maybe it still happens. But for whatever reason, personal or otherwise, and maybe it's personal between the parties, Listen, it was bruising when Kevin Nadel purchased the team, and there were hard feelings with the first group. Everyone and everyone sort of has their hands on the Republic. It was organic. It was look, the Kings came from a different city. The River Cats came from a different city. What I love about Republic is that it organically created in Sacramento, and all these people had their hands on it and played a role in it, including us, the fans, who turned out for it. And I remember having a beer with Warren Smith at the dearly departed De Vere's Irish Pub downtown, and he tells me, I got a crazy idea. And it was just me and him sitting in the pub on a cold winter day, and my first words were like, I'm in, whatever it takes. And so it seems to me that there's an opportunity there, and I really hope it happens. I really hope that MLS is realized, and why not have the Kings involved in that? And maybe it takes time and a lack of success in making it happen to make people change their minds. I hope that's the case. I'm
going to make my guy Jay here angry because we got to wrap. But Marcos, I think this is an important question to ask. And I want you're always honest, and I love that about you. So I want you to be straight up, as always, if you think this is an unfair narrative I'm going to put out there. The Sacramento Kings were saved by this ownership group, and they should never have to buy another drink in town for life. And they, as you said, have done what they haven't done on the court. They've done off court, have been tremendous.
Yeah.
They bought this team for a then record price in this tiny little market for $535 million. That team has, by all accounts, at least quadrupled since they purchased the team in value to $2+ billion. And part of the way they got in there was a public-private partnership in which this city put up $250 million in order to build that arena and the things around it. Now, that being said, is it fair to say, not that the ownership group owes it to Sacramento, but the fact of the matter is the fans' valuation hasn't gone up $250 million. They've paid a lot of money for a below-average product on the court. That this would be a wonderful gesture to maybe take some of those profits that they could realize from the valuation increasing on the backs of their hard work, but also the backs of the fans, and do probably the second most awesome thing in Sacramento sports history behind saving the Kings. Okay, maybe third behind acquiring the Kings and saving the Kings, but helping to bridge that gap and bring MLS to Sacramento, which by all accounts is somewhere in the neighborhood of what, 300 million, 400 million. Is that a fair narrative to ask about?
I think so. I think that, listen, I've been critical of Mr. Ranadive. I have. And then people get upset with me like, they're going to leave. He was going to leave. They got a 30-year lease, not going anywhere. Listen, They saved the team. They did save the team. We're not even arguing about
Not
that.
At all.
We're not arguing about that. They did, and they deserve all the kudos for that. And no one wants them to win more than we do.
Correct.
For crying out loud. But they also can never forget that the city of Sacramento invested heavily in making the arena. Without the city of Sacramento, the arena does not happen.
And without them, the arena doesn't happen either. It's synergistic. Yeah. You're 100% correct.
Yeah. So they always have to keep an eye on doing right by the city, by the region, by the fans, and bringing MLS to Sacramento, I think, would go a long way toward proving that they're all in. And my hope also, seeing our friend Monty at the game last night, is that on the basketball operations, we're going to turn a corner this season. All of us are hoping for that, and would love to see that before we die.
Can't wait to have you on during the season, and I agree with you. I think Monty's got him on the right track, and we'll see just how far that track can go next year as they try not to make it 17 years without a postseason appearance. Marcos Breton, one of the best to ever do it. The longest tenured columnist in Sacramento Bee, at the Sacramento Bee right now. He does wonderful, wonderful work. Always continue to read him. Support local journalism, please. For every Marcos Breton, of course, there's a Ryan Willis you got to put up with. But either way, it's definitely worth the subscription. Marcos, thank you. Say hi to Scott LeBar and the whole crew out there. And thank you for coming on this morning.
Man, it's always an honor, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.